In 1922, Fritz Lang's silent movie Dr. Mabuse the Gambler had its big appearance in two parts. Part 1, The Great Gambler, a picture of the time, and Part 2, Inferno, a game for the people of our age. It was a success with audiences and critics and is quite rightly considered one of Lang's masterpieces. The film is based on Norbert Jacques' successful same-named novel from 1920, with a psychoanalyst Dr. Mabuse as protagonist, a criminal genius with hypnotic abilities and 1,000 faces. In his imagination, Europe is rotten to the core, filled with the corpse stench of the previous war and populated by vultures and tails and top hats. He dreams of creating a new society, free from corruption, and plans an utopian colony in Brazil called Itopoma, financed by his crimes. His opponent, the public prosecutor von Wenck, tries in vain to stop him. In the novel, the most modern technologies of the time are used, such as telephones and image projection, but also ships, an automobile that is easily transformed into a motorboat, and the final is in an airplane from which Mabuse plunks into his seemingly death. Psychopathology and hypnosis were integrated as newly discovered areas of science, and expressionism is addressed as a new form of art. The villain is the true hero, not the lawman. In contrast to the sequels, in The Testament of Dr. Mabuse he has even survived, and in the movies where he is portrayed exclusively as the antagonist. In 1920s Berlin, the psychologist Mabuse lives a secret criminal double life behind the bourgeois facade of his medical office. He is the leader of a criminal gang which even infiltrated the police and wants to build a reign of crime. In his own words, a state within the state. At night, he appears in changing masks and disguises in nightclubs and illegal casinos, where he manipulates his fellow card players by hypnosis. He also manipulates stock market prices, is involved in espionage, runs smuggling operations, owns houses, cars, boats, nightclubs, and prints false money. In the movie, Mabuse is portrayed as an evil bad guy with no positive qualities, lacking his Itopoma motivation and criticism of the state. In the end, there is also no spectacular James Bond-like chase, but instead he falls into madness after his victims show up as ghosts. Both movie and novel are very good. I personally prefer the more critical novel. The movie is rightly regarded as the best of the Mabuse series, and in the first half he reflects, apart from the mentioned character changes, the storyline of the novel very well. He has a constant eerie atmosphere and for that time impressive effects. In 1933, Dr. Mabuse is an inmate in an insane asylum and obsessively writing his testament, in which he gives instructions how to establish a comprehensive crime reign. Inspector Lohmann, who has already been investigating in M, also convincingly portrayed by Otto Wernicke, is confronted with a riddle, also because the crimes committed seems nonsensical and resemble rather blind destruction. Mabuse has taken possession of the asylum's director, who is clueless about his crime-lord nightlife and after Mabuse's death finally completely taken over by his ghost. There is also a French version of the movie, simultaneously shot by René Stee, with the same technical crew and some of the actors, which is why Stee sometimes appears as a co-director. Like its predecessor, the movie is a brilliant masterpiece and stands out with a very good cast, a thrilling production and very well done effects. He presents the different facets of madness in an impressive way and has many allusions to the uprising Nazis, which Lieder also wrote his infamous book In Captivity. As later in the Nazi Reign of Crime, which banned the film in the year of its release, long left Germany in the same year, Mabuse's methods are intimidation and terror towards the population, the bureaucratic and division of labor in which the sense of criminal individual actions, like why someone has to be blackmailed or eliminated, is hardly questioned by anyone, and the transmission of orders within the organization using anonymous technical media such as paper clips, telephone and speakers. It is also the last really good Mabuse movie, because from now on the Halloween rule applies, not as good as the last one, but at least not as terrible as the next. Fritz Lang returned from the US in 1957 and made 3 more movies in Germany. After that, only some scenes in a movie from a befriended director in France. 1960, The Thousand Eyes of Dr. Mabuse is based on Jan Fetke's aka Jean Forge 1931 in Esperanto published novel Mr. Todd Buys a Thousand Eyes, which has nothing to do with the original Mabuse. A criminal striving for world domination controls a luxury hotel with secret cameras installed everywhere. He's after Henry B. Travers, played by Peter van Eyck, the, of course, American millionaire / nuclear energy trader. There's also a blind fortune teller, a dubious doctor, and Werner Peters as an annoying insurance agent whatsoever. All suspects for Inspector Krass, played by Gerd Goldfinger Fröbe. In the end, it is of course not Mabuse himself, since he died years ago, but a copycat, also apparently dead after the final. Fritz Lang's last film is an entertainingly charming game with ambitious perspectives, illusions and false appearances, and still takes things like missing privacy and total surveillance as a serious danger, which nowadays seems, thanks to smartphones and simpletons who bug voluntarily home and workplace with Alexa, Siri and similar NSA tools, almost cute. At no point he can keep up with his earlier masterpieces, and in the end he offers only a by-the-numbers crime story and typical occupying forces-friendly cliches, in this case the US, very similar to the German Edgar Wallace flicks from the same production company that is responsible for all 6 1960s Mabuse movies. In 2018, a joke dubbing of the film entitled The 1000 Glotzböbel of Dr. Mabuse, created by Swabian comedian Dominic Kuhn, was released in cinemas. This quite entertaining version is about brain soup, fake book and the internet.
It's about you and the sun, a morning run, the story of my maker, what I have and what I ache for. I've got a golden ear, I cut a nice spear. What else is there?
In 1961, Harald Reinl's wannabe crime thriller In the Steel Net of Dr. Mabuse, English title The Return of Dr. Mabuse, tried its luck. Inspector Lohmann discovers traces in a tricky case, which apparently lead to the late Mabuse. Everything points to a prison where people are made compliant by means of a super drug. The original German title, which has absolutely nothing to do with the plot, was shamelessly stolen from the crime series Stahlnetz, English Steel Net. I mean of course Fished Off, which itself was the German version of the US series Dragnet, which was later shown in Germany as Police Report. In the Dragnet of director Snorhead Reinl we find all sorts of things, but none of his own, and of course no new ideas. There are even straight-up copies like the office attack scene or the flooding scene. Inspector Krass is now again Inspector Lohmann, Werner Peters has probably changed sides and is now a coat-wearing supervisor, and later Old Shattered Hand from the serious man German Wild West flick Winnetou Lex Barker plays the super-duper FBI/fake Chicago gangster Joe Como in the best Mary Sue manner, who knows and can do everything better even with his hands in his pockets, and is so popular that he is even giving doing spying in a prison anti-mind control pills from a complete stranger, because why not? Also he gets the German girl at the end, which in all Mabuse movies apparently has to go by contract to the current Yank/Brit of the week. Not the only contract where we got fucked, I mean of course treated without respect by the alleged allies. In the end, the dead fake Mabuse from the last movie is now the real one, also still alive to seemingly die again.
Roads get nearer.
1962, Harald Reinl's even more embarrassing fiasco The Invisible Dr. Mabuse shows up. Since Inspector Goldfinger is not in the movie, all those who did show up for the paycheck get an upgrade and are now higher in the food chain. The new lead is now FBI agent Joe Gary Stu Como, who explains the iconic German actor Siegfried Lowitz here as a clueless inspector with stupid sunglasses his job. Werner Peters has apparently worked his way up to clown/theater manager. A disfigured scientist invents a device that makes him invisible and uses it to stop an attractive actress in the theater. Dr. Mabuse uses her as bait to get the device and sends in the last 10 minutes 12 invisible minions on a suicide mission. He himself ends in an insane asylum, just like me if I had to sit another time through The Invisible because simply not there, talents of hack director Reinl. As the title already suggests, this boring piece of shit tries to surf on the Invisible Man success. But actually it's just an ultra-slow Phantom of the Opera imitation, obviously by someone who doesn't know anything about both topics. Wanting but not able to applies also in the same year to Werner Klingler's remake sequel whatsoever, The Testament of Dr. Mabuse. The plot is partially like the original movie because he is based on the same script. The new Inspector Lohmann tries again to catch the genius criminal, whose gang has silly names like Laughing Gas Frankie and Eyeball Rolf. Also, in the New Testament of Dr. Mabuse, he controls his attending Dr. Professor Poland and possesses him completely after his death, only to apparently die himself. Or stay alive, who knows. In 1963, director Paul May also gets the opportunity to completely fuck up a Mabuse story. Scotland Yard hunts Dr. Mabuse is based on The Device by Brian Edgar Wallace, the son of the famous author. More on Edgar Wallace if I ever can manage to get the more than 100 adaptations and stories.
Nein, ich bin nicht Major Thurn, ich bin seine Mutter.
Peter van Eyck is back, but this time his name is Bill Thurn, and he plays a major, who with his obviously German mom tries in vain to simulate a British household by dropping English words like weekend.
Nichts kann dringend genug sein, hier bei uns in England das Weekend zu stören.
Just typical British. Werner Peters seems to have switched sides again and is now even the investigating inspector, who loses Mabuse's testament from the last movie right at the beginning because for reasons it just explodes. In Dr. Mabuse hunts the Edgar Wallace success and fails, a scientist invents a mind control device with which Mabuse tries to control his victims. However, Mabuse turns out to be more stupid than the police allows, and of course he gets caught. As usual, his ghost just disappears in time, leaving his poor victim clueless back. What a prick. In 1964, Hugo Fregonese's The Secret of Dr. Mabuse, spoiler, there is no secret, it's about stupid death race from the get-go, like the original title, The Death Race of Dr. Mabuse already gives away. Proves that it is possible to make a Mabuse movie even without the Mabuse actor showing up, but still using his name for advertising and movie posters. Wrong labeling is apparently Hugo Fregonese's specialty. I was already upset when in his Dracula vs. Frankenstein neither Dracula nor Frankenstein appeared.
Ich hab sie nicht mehr unter Kontrolle. Dracula jagt Frankenstein.
Peter van Eyck plays the same British Major again, but this time he is called Anders, German word for different. Major Anders, with the license to bore. As a kind of poor man's James Blunt, he tries to convince a scientist on an island to give his death ray machine to the Brits for world peace and stuff. Because that's what MI5 and CIA are known for. Sure. From time to time, Mabuse also shows up as a shadow in the TV and at the end as the escaping ghost of the initially escaped Professor Poland, although he wasn't even possessed anymore at the end of the last movie. Who cares? In the 1960s, in an episode of the series Green Hornet, there was also a Mabuse who pretended to be an alien because, I don't know, clearly typical Mabuse, I guess. The episode can also be seen in the Frankenstein-style Fudged Together feature from 1974. In 1970, Scream and Scream Again is called for reasons in the German version The Living Corpses of Dr. Mabuse, and Dr. Browning was promoted in the dub to Dr. Mabuse. The last episode, Mabuse Returns of the satirical Austrian 70s crime TV series Cotton Investigates, was not available to me, but I can remember it was quite funny as a child. In 1972, Dr. M allegedly strikes again in Jess Franco's god-awful excuse for a movie, but only in the title and on the movie posters. In the film itself, he is nowhere to find. There's only a Dr. Krenko whatsoever. That even a highly respected great director can completely fuck up. Claude Chabrol was one of the most important directors of the French Nouvelle Vague back then, proves Dr. M from 1990.
Roads are getting nearer. We cover distance, but not together. I am the storm, and I am the wonder, and the flashlights, nightmares, sudden explosion.
In this super cheap looking, deadly boring, ultra talkative snorefest, a deadly epidemic infects the people of West Berlin, which is why some of them commit suicide. At least this is told the audience, but not really shown. But maybe I just fell asleep when they showed it. Who knows? Media reports are apparently only propaganda, and one policeman suspects for reasons that the suiciders are in fact victims of a madman. It turns out that the owner of a media company drives people to end their lives, probably by threatening them to watch this movie, because he needs the energy as a power source for his steel-made heart. The movie is supposedly a remake of Flank's Dr. Mabuse the Gambler, and it's true, except for the minor detail that the story has nothing to do with the original at all. It even takes place in the future, and Dr. M is Dr. Marsfeld, not Dr. Mabuse.